I've been thinking about something that bothers me. Not the kind of thing that keeps a physicist up at night, not quantum chromodynamics or the nature of time. No, no. Something far more personal, something that bothers me about people, about you, about me, about what we do with the extraordinary, almost ridiculous gift of waking up every single morning. Here's what I've noticed. Most people, and I say this with genuine affection, most people live their lives like they're waiting for a bus that already left. They stand there at the stop, perfectly capable of walking, knowing the bus left, and they wait anyway. And I find that fascinating, and I find that tragic. So today I want to talk to you about 5 things, 5 specific, testable, reproducible steps that will take you from wherever you are, average, stuck, frustrated, comfortable, whatever word you use, and move you, if you actually do them, towards something most people only describe to each other at dinner: fortune. The real kind. Not just money, though money is fine, money is wonderful, but the deep fortune of a life lived fully, on your own terms, with your whole engine running. Now let's get into it, because I despise wasting time. Step 1, master your mindset. I want to tell you something about the mind that most people miss because they're in too much of a hurry to notice. The mind is not a fixed thing. People treat it like it's a rock. This is who I am. This is how I think. This is my limit. But that's simply not accurate. The mind is more like a river. It carves its own path, yes, but you can redirect it. Slowly, persistently, you can change the whole landscape of what you believe is possible. Now, let me give you an example. Henry Ford, and I like this story because Ford was not a scientist, he was not especially educated in the formal sense, but he had something remarkable going on upstairs. Ford told his engineers to build a V8 engine. 8 cylinders cast as one single block. His engineers, smart men, trained men, came back to him and said, impossible, can't be done. The materials, the methods, the tolerances, impossible. Ford said, essentially, I don't accept that as a final answer. Go figure it out. They came back again, still impossible. Go figure it out. And you know what's interesting? They did figure it out, because they were forced to stop treating impossible as a conclusion and start treating it as the beginning of the problem. That's the whole thing right there. That's the entire lesson wrapped up in one story. Most people treat the statement, I can't do this, as data, as a factual report from headquarters. But it's not data, it's a habit. It's a mental reflex that developed because at some point a long time ago, it was easier to stop than to continue. Now here's the physics of it, and I love thinking about everything in terms of physics. The mind obeys something like Newton's first law. A mind in a pattern of doubt tends to stay in doubt. A mind in motion towards solutions tends to stay in motion towards solutions. The hard part isn't maintaining momentum, it's getting it started. So how do you start? You catch the thought. You catch it red-handed. You're sitting there thinking, I can't possibly do this. And you notice it, you name it, and then immediately you swap it for a question. How could I do this? Now, that single word swap from statement to question does something genuinely remarkable. It activates a completely different region of your cognition. A statement closes a door. A question opens one. The subconscious mind, which is doing the bulk of your actual thinking, whether you acknowledge it or not, loves questions. It will chew on a good question for hours, for days, turning it over and over. Statements it ignores, questions it attacks, and then there's visualization. I know, sounds soft, sounds like something on a poster in a yoga studio. But listen, the brain, this is not metaphor, this is neuroscience. The brain processes a vividly imagined event using many of the same neural pathways as an actual event. When you close your eyes and feel yourself succeeding clearly, specifically with emotion, your subconscious cannot perfectly distinguish that from reality. You're essentially rehearsing success in the most efficient laboratory available, your own skull. Do this daily, not casually, deliberately. Sit down, close your eyes, see the goal, feel it, run the movie. The subconscious responds to repetition and to emotion. Give it both. And affirmations, I know, they feel absurd at first. You say, I am capable, I am resilient, solutions come naturally to me, and you feel like a charlatan, like you're lying to yourself. But here's the curious thing. The feeling of insincerity goes away with repetition, and what replaces it is something that starts to feel suspiciously like belief. And belief, my friend, is a self-fulfilling prediction. You start acting like someone who expects to succeed, and people who act like they expect to succeed do different things than people who don't. They take different risks. They ask different questions. They persist past the point where doubters quit. Cultivate gratitude too, and not as a nicety, but as a practical tool. Gratitude trains the mind to look for abundance. A mind that looks for abundance finds it because it is genuinely there, invisible to those programmed to see only scarcity. Your mindset is the single variable that controls all the others. Change it first, and everything downstream changes with it. Step 2. Set goals that scare you. Now, here's where most well-intentioned advice goes completely wrong. People say, set realistic goals. And I understand the impulse. They're trying to protect you from disappointment. But I think that's exactly backwards. I think safe goals are the most dangerous kind. Here's why. A safe goal doesn't require you to become a different person. You can hit a safe goal with the skills, habits, and mindset you already have. And if you can hit it with what you already have, what exactly have you grown? Nothing. You've just moved furniture around in the same house. The goals that change people are the ones that require them to become more than they currently are. And those goals, by definition, are uncomfortable. They make your palms sweat. They make you wake up at 3 a.m. running calculations. They introduce a kind of productive anxiety that is actually useful because it tells you you're pushing against your real edge. If your goals don't make you a little nervous, you're not at the edge. You're well within the interior. And growth doesn't happen in the interior. Now, and this is the part people skip. A big, terrifying goal is just a dream until you do one specific thing to it. You disaggregate it. You break it apart. You find the daily unit. Let's say the goal is $1 million. Wonderful goal. Terrifying and exciting, which means it's probably the right size. Now, what does $1 million divided by 365 look like? What needs to happen this week to be on pace? What needs to happen today? Suddenly, the mountain is a staircase. Suddenly, you have not a dream, but a program. And a program is something you can actually execute. But, and this is where I want to be honest with you because I think honesty is more useful than comfort, the excitement you feel about the goal right now is going to fade. Probably within a week, maybe 2. That initial electricity is real, but it's not durable. It's jet fuel. It gets you off the ground, but you can't run a plane on it forever. What you need is discipline. The cold, unsexy, unglamorous willingness to do the thing you committed to doing even when the electricity is completely gone. Most people confuse motivation and discipline, and this confusion ruins them. Motivation is the feeling you get when a goal is new and exciting. Discipline is the system you build so that the work happens regardless of how you feel. Motivation is weather. Discipline is the building. It doesn't care about the weather. And failure. I want to say something about failure because the fear of it is what keeps people setting small goals in the first place. Edison, you've heard the story. Thousands of failed attempts before the light bulb. People treat this as an inspiring story about persistence, and it is. But there's a deeper lesson in it. Edison didn't see those attempts as failures. He famously said he had found thousands of ways that didn't work. He was running an experiment. Each failed attempt was data. Each one narrowed the solution space. Each one was paradoxically progress. Approach your goals the same way. You're not failing when things don't work. You're gathering data. You're running experiments. The only way to actually fail is to stop running experiments. Quit the experiment and you failed. Keep running it no matter how many no results you get, and you haven't. Set the big scary goal. Break it into daily actions. Build a system, and then commit to the system the way a scientist commits to an experiment. Not because you know how it ends, but because you trust the process. Step 3, develop relentless self-discipline. All right, here's something I want you to really sit with. You already know what you need to do. I'm serious. Think about your main goal right now. Think about the 3 or 4 things that, if you did them consistently, would move you toward it. You know what they are. You've probably known for months, maybe years. So why aren't you doing them? This is one of the most fascinating puzzles of human behavior. The gap between knowing and doing is enormous, and it's not bridged by more information. It's bridged by discipline. And here's the uncomfortable truth. The reason most people don't do the thing they know they should do is feelings. They feel tired. They feel uninspired. They feel like today isn't the right day, or the conditions aren't right, or they'll be more ready tomorrow. They negotiate with themselves constantly, and the negotiator inside always loses because it's negotiating against discipline on behalf of comfort. Success doesn't care about your feelings. I don't say that to be harsh. I say it because understanding this is liberating. If success depended on feeling good, on feeling motivated, on feeling ready, it would be randomly distributed among people, showing up wherever those good feelings happen to appear. But it's not randomly distributed. It clusters around people who have learned to act independently of how they feel. Now, discipline, and this is the part that surprises people, discipline is not something you either have or you don't. It's not a personality trait that some people were born with and others weren't. It's a skill. More precisely, it's like a muscle. It gets stronger when you exercise it and weaker when you don't. Every time you say you're going to do something at a specific time, and then you actually do it at that time, regardless of how you feel, you make a deposit into your discipline account. Every time you say you'll do it and then negotiate your way out of it, you make a withdrawal. Over time, these deposits and withdrawals determine your net balance, and your net balance determines what you're capable of. Start small. This is important. Don't try to overhaul everything at once. That's the discipline equivalent of trying to bench press 300 pounds on your first day in the gym. Start with one commitment. One thing you will do every single day without exception. Wake up when you said you would. Write for 30 minutes, walk for 20. Whatever it is, make it small enough that there's almost no excuse not to do it, and then do not miss it. The act of not missing it is what you're actually training. You're training reliability. You're training the neural pathway that connects intention to action. Once that pathway is strong, you expand, you add more, you increase the load. But you build from the small, consistent, repeated thing. Remove choices where you can. Willpower is depleted by decisions. Every time you have to decide whether to do the thing, you use up some willpower. So don't decide. Remove the decision. Put the gym bag by the door. Schedule the work block in the calendar and treat it like surgery. Build the environment so that the default behavior is the disciplined behavior. And eliminate the escape routes. The most powerful thing you can do for your discipline is to simply stop giving yourself the option to quit. Not as a punishment, as a structure. The people who succeed don't have more willpower than everyone else. They've built systems where willpower is less often required. Embrace the discomfort when it comes, because it will come. The moment you feel resistance, that internal "I don't feel like it," that is precisely the moment of growth, right there. That resistance is the edge of your current capability. Every time you push through it, the edge moves outward. Every time you retreat from it, the edge shrinks back. You are literally choosing, in that moment, which direction your capabilities go. Take ownership. Total ownership. Not partial ownership, not mostly my fault, but partly circumstances. Total ownership. Because ownership is the only stance from which you can actually change things. If it's partially someone else's fault, you need their cooperation to fix it. If it's entirely yours, you can fix it right now, today, with no one's permission. Discipline is the bridge. That's not a metaphor. It is the literal mechanism by which what you want becomes what you have. There is no shortcut around it. There is no hack that bypasses it. There is only the daily choice to do the work, and over time, that choice becomes who you are. Step 4, surround yourself with excellence. I want to describe a phenomenon that I find genuinely fascinating and a little alarming about human beings. We are extraordinarily susceptible to our environments, not in an obvious way, not in the way where you notice it happening, in a quiet, gradual, almost invisible way. The people you spend the most time with are continuously calibrating what you consider normal. Their standards become your standards. Their ceiling becomes your ceiling. Their expectations of what's possible seep into you through 1,000 small conversations, reactions, and silences. And before you know it, you have adopted their model of the world as your own. Now, this is not a moral failing. It's actually a feature of human cognition. We're wired for social calibration. It helped us survive for hundreds of thousands of years. The problem is that in the modern world, it means that if you spend your time around people who are comfortable with mediocrity, their comfort will become your comfort. Their excuses will start sounding reasonable to you. Their level of ambition or lack of it will start feeling normal, and normal is a trap. This is why the old saying that you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with is not just motivational poetry. It's a description of a mechanism. You are being averaged, constantly. The question is whether you're being averaged up or averaged down. Spend consistent time with 5 people who are broke, not because of circumstance, but because of habit, because they don't manage money, don't think long-term, don't invest in themselves. And the probability that you become the 6th is not 0. It's not 0 because you will start to adopt the same rationalizations, the same short-term thinking, the same casual relationship with the future. But the reverse, and this is the good news, the genuinely exciting news, the reverse is equally true and equally powerful. Put yourself consistently in the company of people who operate at a higher level, and you will be forced to level up. Not because they lecture you, not because they're trying to improve you, but because their behavior recalibrates what feels normal. Their work ethic becomes the baseline. Their standards become the floor. When you see someone achieve something you thought was beyond reach, not in a movie, not in a book, but in person, in your actual life, it fundamentally changes what you believe is possible. This is proximity to greatness as a tool. Use it deliberately. Now, how do you actually get into rooms with better people when you're not yet at their level? Mentors. Find mentors. Actively, deliberately, humbly seek out people who are already where you want to go. Not to extract information from them, people can smell that and it's repellent, but to learn how they think. How do they approach problems? What do they worry about? What do they read? How do they make decisions? The knowledge matters less than the mental model. A good mentor saves you years. They've already run the experiment you're about to run. They know which paths lead to dead ends. They can help you fail faster on the things that aren't working and double down faster on the things that are. Seeking mentorship is not a sign of weakness. It is one of the highest leverage things you can do. If you can't get direct mentorship, the next best thing is proximity. Conferences, mastermind groups, industries and communities where excellence is the norm. Books written by extraordinary people. Not summaries, not podcasts about the books, the actual books, because the actual books carry nuance and depth that translations lose. Be honest with yourself about your current circle. Are the people around you raising your standards or lowering them? Do they celebrate your ambition or subtly undermine it? Do they challenge your excuses or validate them? This is not an invitation to be cruel or to discard people you love. It's an invitation to be intentional. You don't have to fire your friends, but you do have to be strategic about where your time and energy go. Spend more time with the people who are pulling you forward. Spend less time with the ones who are pulling you back. Let the ratios shift gradually, naturally, without drama. And bring your energy too, because energy is contagious in both directions. You've felt this. You've had conversations that left you buzzing, electric, ready. And you've had conversations that left you flat, drained, smaller somehow. That's not random. That's the emotional climate of the relationship expressing itself. Fill your life with the first kind. Guard your energy from the second. Because your internal state, your belief level, your motivation, your creative capacity is not generated in isolation. It's co-created with the people around you. Choose those people carefully, with the same care you'd apply to any other critical resource. Because in the end, your social circle is either your greatest asset or your most costly liability. Make it an asset. Step 5, take massive action. Okay, here's where I want to be the most direct with you, because I think this is where most good intention goes to die. There is an enormous difference between preparing to do the thing and doing the thing. People read about success. They study it. They take notes. They build elaborate systems. They design vision boards. They watch videos about productivity. They create frameworks. They optimize their morning routines. And then they keep reading. They keep studying. They keep preparing. And the preparation feels good. It feels like progress. The brain releases small rewards for learning, for planning, for organizing. So people stay in preparation mode for months, sometimes years, because it feels productive while requiring almost none of the real risk. This is the trap. This is the thing I want you to see clearly, right now, so you can never unsee it. Preparation without execution is a very sophisticated form of procrastination. The most successful people I can point to in science, in business, in any field, share one characteristic that is almost embarrassingly simple. They start. They start before they feel ready. They start before they have all the information. They start before the conditions are perfect. They start and then they adjust. Because here's what's true about readiness. It is not a state that arrives before action. It is a state that results from action. You do not become ready and then start. You start, and in the starting, you become ready. Readiness is not the cause of action. It's the consequence. The perfect moment will not come. I want you to hear that clearly. The stars will not align, the fear will not disappear, the certainty will not arrive. These things do not precede action, they are generated by it. Every confident person you admire was once terrified and did it anyway. Their confidence is not what enabled the action. The action is what generated the confidence. Now, fear. Let's talk about fear, because it is the primary reason people don't start. Fear feels like a warning. It feels like your nervous system saying, stop, danger, turn back. And sometimes that's exactly right. But here's the curious thing. The fear you feel before a genuinely dangerous situation and the fear you feel before a difficult but necessary action are physiologically identical. Same racing heart, same sweaty palms, same sense of dread. The body doesn't distinguish between them, which means your body's fear signal is not reliable information about whether you should proceed. It is simply information that you are outside your comfort zone, that you're in new territory. And new territory is exactly where growth lives. High performers don't lack fear. They have it in abundance. What they've learned is that fear is not a stop sign. It's a signal. It's the body saying this matters. Pay attention. They feel the fear and they use it. They translate it into focus, into energy, into the kind of heightened awareness that actually improves performance. So don't wait for the fear to go away. It won't. Incorporate it. Let it sharpen you. And failure, I keep coming back to failure because it keeps blocking people. Failure is feedback, nothing more, nothing less. When Thomas Edison ran an experiment that didn't work, he had learned one thing: that particular configuration doesn't produce the result. He hadn't failed. He had data. The experiment was working exactly as it should. Each result, positive or negative, was information. Run your life more like an experiment. When something doesn't work, don't collapse into self-recrimination. Ask, what did I learn? What does this tell me about the actual structure of the problem? Then adjust and run the next experiment. Fail fast, learn fast, adjust fast. The goal is not to avoid failure. The goal is to generate useful failures quickly so you can triangulate toward the solution. The people who win are not the ones who avoided failure. They're the ones who failed faster than everyone else, extracted the lesson, and kept going. So here's what I want you to do right now, not at the end of this talk, not after you've had time to think about it. Right now, identify one action, one specific, concrete, immediate action that moves you toward your main goal. Not a planning action, not a research action, an execution action, making the call, sending the email, publishing the post, starting the page, registering the account, something real, and do it today, not tomorrow, which is where good intentions go to crystallize into regret. Today, because ideas without execution are the saddest thing in the world, full of potential that was never realized, full of paths that were never walked, and the gap between your current life and the life you actually want is not filled by more ideas, more information, more preparation. It's filled by action. Relentless, consistent, imperfect, daily action. The doers win, not the dreamers, the doers. So, 5 steps. Master your mindset. Set goals that terrify you. Develop relentless self-discipline. Surround yourself with excellence. And take massive, unapologetic, imperfect action. Now, I've told you these 5 things. I've explained the mechanisms. I've given you the examples. I've tried to show you why they work, not just that they work, because I think understanding the why makes you far more likely to actually do it. But here's the thing, and I want to end with this because it matters. Knowing these 5 steps will not change your life. Reading about them will not change your life. Nodding along will not change your life. Only doing them will. And the marvelous thing, the thing I find genuinely wonderful about all of this, is that the choice is entirely yours. Every morning when you wake up, you are handed a completely new set of possibilities. The universe doesn't know what you did yesterday. It doesn't care about your failures, your mistakes, your wasted years. It simply presents today, full of potential, asking what you're going to do with it. That question, what are you going to do with it? That's the only question that actually matters. Now go answer it.